In this video, we will be talking about a Radeon Sapphire Nitro Plus Radeon RX 580 with 8 gigs of RAM. This is a legend of budget GPUs, and still you can buy it even nowadays, even new on AliExpress, but you can buy also a very good condition used card for between $50 and $100. Same here in Europe, between 50 and 100 euros, and I guess the same in UK, but you have to convert it to pounds. And what was the reason I was testing this GPU? I'm in the middle of upgrading my PC, so I gave it a shot. Like, I wanted something cheap, something inexpensive to be in my PC as a temporary card. So I gave it a shot and decided to test this legend myself. Now, the rig we are talking about, AMD RX 580, which is from 2017. So in this rig is paired with i7 9700K, which is a CPU released in 2018. So this is quite a good match to give you an idea how this card actually performs. Now you have 32 gigs of RAM, you have a fast SSD drive from Samsung, and ROG motherboard. So this is pretty good setup that will give us realistic results of what this thing can do. So we will divide this review or this video about this card into 3 sections: photo editing, video editing, so creative tasks, productivity tasks, and then gaming. And gaming we will test it both in 1080p and ultra wide monitor. Let's talk about photo editing. When it comes to photo editing, this card is very snappy. It was absolute pleasure to edit photos on it. So I was editing 20 RAW files from my Sony a7 Mark III, so it's 24 megapixels. I could have stressed it more with my a7 Mark IV 36 megapixel RAW files, but I decided to go with 24, and like, editing was a breeze, no problem, very responsive. When it comes to export times, it managed to export 24 megapixel RAW images in just 22 seconds, which is a very good result for such a card, and even like for nowadays standard, it is a very good result. To give you an example, like an entry-level Intel Arc A310 managed to export this same batch of images in 50 seconds. So that's a big difference here. However, when it comes to video editing, the situation is not as good as in case of photo editing, because like there is some lag when it comes to color correction in DaVinci Resolve, which is kind of strange because some GPUs just give just have this lag. So in the beginning of the video editing, you have this strange lag, and then when you color corrected your first video, then the rest is way smoother. But both playback and color correcting is not the smoothest out there. So if you want to use it for video editing, I would recommend to drop timeline resolution to 1080p, and then when you export, go to 4K. And when we are talking about export on native AMD encoder, it managed to export this test project in 11 minutes. That's not a good result, it's an okay result, nothing to be scared of, but nothing great. To give you perspective, like my iGPU with this 9700K managed to do it in 15 minutes, while Arc A310 managed to export this video in 6 minutes. Intel QuickSync is much better than AMD encoder, specifically taking into consideration age of this card. Let's get to this most important section here, which is gaming. Let's start first with Mass Effect Andromeda. So when it comes to 1080p, it managed to, on high settings, I left it with automatic settings because this game is actually very good in selecting optimal settings itself. So it was actually high settings. It managed to produce between 80 and 90 frames per second, which is a very good result. High details, very good looking game. Awesome. When it comes to ultra wide on 2K plus here, it managed to squeeze out like 55 to 60 frames per second, again on high settings. Again, a very spectacular effect. Next one is Scars Above, and Scars Above in 1080p on high is 100 frames per second plus, so very spectacular effect result. And then on ultra, 77 on average. On ultra wide, it managed to pull out on high settings 65 frames per second. By the way, Scars is a very well optimized game. Next one, Redout 2. This is like 1080p on Epic. It was 70 to 80 frames per second. Still very good result. On high settings, 100 frames per second ultra wide, there was a very apparent drop, but we managed to get like 55 FPS on high settings, so that's not bad. Interestingly enough, both in Redout 2 and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, when Intel XESS was turned on, it was performing worse. So with this AMD card, you don't want to use Intel XESS. It just doesn't work well with this card. Let me know in the comments below if I maybe did something wrong, but I turned it on and off and it actually performed better with Intel XESS turned off, both in Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Redout 2. Now, going to Shadow of the Tomb Raider, high settings, average frame rates was 72. 72, high settings, no image scaling, nothing like that, 1080p. That is a very good result. High settings and ultra wide monitor, I managed to pull out 35 to 40 frames per second out of this guy, which is an okay result. You could still play it without any problems. In conclusion, I would say that AMD cards, like AMD software, this Adrenaline software and drivers got way better than back in the days when I first started, like this video, photo editing work, when I had Radeon Vega 64 and I wanted to create Hackintosh. So back in the days, like, those drivers were so bad and so unstable, so it was way better to go with NVIDIA. Now, if you want a low budget card with good drivers, with very good performance, this AMD RX 580 is probably a better choice than it ever was. The only downside is video editing was not such a smooth experience as I expected it to be, but still an okay experience. So if you're looking for something under $100, something that is great for gaming, and you can also do some productivity tasks on it without bigger problem, then Radeon RX 580 Sapphire Nitro Plus, or whatever edition you'll get, even this like probably Chinese AliExpress version, is just a great choice. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed my video, my quick review of this GPU. If you did, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and I see you guys in the next one. Cheers.